Tooth of Purpose. Brought to you by Uganda First.
Hello, welcome to Youth of Purpose, a show that is here to inspire you and equip you as a young person to be able to contribute to this country's development, be it economically, socially, politically, in all aspects. Any opportunity that you get as a young people, use it to contribute to Uganda's development. Now, sometimes we are so good at doing things that are not taking us anywhere, and we're so perfect on being who we are not. Today we're going to be talking about something that really does concern us as Africans, and we need to find a way of how we can be able to move forward and get a solution to this. We're talking about the role of culture and identity in the growth of Pan-Africanism. Are you proud of who you are? Do you understand what your culture are? I very well understand that Uganda has diverse cultures. We're living in a cosmopolitan kind of community, and sometimes we get a lot of mix-ups. But do you know who you are, where you come from? Do you appreciate who you are as a person? Today we want to look at that and how it can be able to help you to grow as an individual, but also the growth of the nation Uganda and then Africa as a whole. And today I have very brilliant guys in today on the show who are going to be telling us about all that, about their culture and how that culture and identity can be used for Pan-Africanism. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Youth of Purpose.
Thank you.
Starting on the right, today I'm not going to do ladies first. Kindly introduce yourself, say to the viewer.
Thank you so much, Ivan, to the viewers, countrymen and women, family and friends. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Lady?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to every viewer out there. My name is Piloya Babranyako, and I am a cultural youth leader, and I'm proud to be an Acholi.
I just love that introduction, and the way you look itself really does identify with what we're talking about. Look at the afro hair, look at the earrings, really it does speak to me, and that's one of the things that we are proud of as Africans. But usually it stops in the words, you know, talking about I'm an African woman, I'm an African man, an African man is supposed to do this. Mostly men talk about an African man not marrying one wife. That's an African man needs to have more than one wife. But why does it have to stop in words? What are those things that we need to look at and appreciate as Africans? And to you, what is culture and the identity that you have?
Well, very much, thank you so much. To me, culture really means a lot. It really starts from who you are as a person. And who you are as a person entails a lot. The name that you have, where you come from, who you have, as you relate with. Yeah, it really entails. For the name as you are, the name that you have should really show the identity and where you really come from. And the person that you really relate with shouldn't stop you from relating with other people, but as an individual, do you relate more to your culture? I mean, do you have that contribution that you really give into your culture? Perhaps that is the little more how I understand culture. And as a youth of these days, we really need to work onto that. Love our culture, love your name, love your identity, and where you come from more.
You see, you talk about loving the names. You understand well today, if you're Barbara, they are going to be calling you Babs. If you're Ivan, they are going to call you Ivo. For Seth, I don't know how they can shorten you, Seth, whatsoever. So how can, it will be very hard to find someone using their surname, call it botanical. And many people will find that if you're going to, for example, for me who does production, if you're going to put titles for someone, they say for their, surname, you put just a letter. If it's Nansubuga, they want you to put an N.
Sure.
Charity N something. They don't want the Nansubuga to come out. If I'm Tumukunde, they want the Ivan T something. Why can't we be proud of that, who we are?
Well, you see, it's because we have so much embraced the Western culture, but it is not yet too late. We as Africans, we as young, vibrant youth, we can still wake up and say, no, I don't want this name. I will give you a scenario. When I was in my A-level school, and I used to sit in front and the teacher tells me, Barbara, stand up. So when I get up and then he said, do you even know the meaning of your name? He was an history teacher. Then I'm like, oh no, I really don't know. And then he said, Barbara really means dog. So from that onset, I promised myself that I will remove Barbara. I will remain with the name Piloya, which literally means never defeated. I will remain with the name Nyeko, and then instead of having Barbara, I will bring Alaka, which is my mother's name, so that I can really preserve my culture, because I really know what it means and that defines me. I really cannot be proud of something I don't know. So it is still possible. We as Africans can still change from the mindset that we have to now change and preserve our culture.
Thank you. Coming from that, changing the mindset and stuff, say, how can we be able to change the mindset and perception about culture and our identity being looked at as to be backward? You will so much appreciate someone speaking fluent English and look at someone who is speaking their local language to be dull and dumb. Why that?
Culture has moved into three phases. The old Stone Age period, where we had our great parents who brought all this background that we're all seeing here.
Yeah.
Then the colonialists came in, who brought in all this. The colonialists or the whites brought in some good things, which we embrace. But that doesn't mean that we should forget where we came from. That shouldn't mean that we forget what we were brought in for. Or she talks about realizing who you are. But despite when a child falls down, it's not all about you falling down, but have you stood up to move again? Now that we are realizing how we can speak English fluently, but you can't speak your Aru language, you can't speak your Luganda well, can stakeholders come together as one to say, no, this is our culture and forever our culture will be our pride. Set standards. Schools, we were beaten to speak our local language,
Yeah.
but beaten that we should speak English. Now that
Being beaten for being who you are.
Thank you. Now
That's sad.
we are realizing that culture is being eroded away. Can we include all African languages in those schools to embrace and people know? Because some Kampala young children don't know even speak their language.
Oh, yeah.
Where are we going? The next generation is not realizing. Now that's why Ishazi Foundation comes in to always tell parents, tell stakeholders, tell government, let's stick to our culture. This is tourism. We are touring our culture. The country is earning, the GDP of the countries is being added on by the tourism that is instilled by culture. Culture is, Africa is rich. We are joined by a spirit of Ubuntu. This was said by Julius Malema while in court. He told them that we are joined by, whether you're in South Africa, whether you're in Zambia, we are all joined by the spirit of Ubuntu.
Humanity.
We are together, we are one, we are humanity. It is humanity that brings us together. When I talk about culture, I feel my heartbeat is because it's being
I
eroded
can
away.
see how passionate you are.
Let's come
But
together as a country
you
and embrace
see,
culture at one.
Maybe when you say that culture has been eroded, it will not be just for us to only say culture,
Yes.
but not break it down for someone to understand what culture is about. What are those things that really, identifies or defines culture, most especially for us as Africans?
Thank you so much. I like her statement of her saying that she should remove her Christian name or the given name by the whites. It starts by the when you're going to apply for a passport. They ask you your great grandparent. They ask you for your great grandparent. Reason being, they want to know legacy. Your legacy. Our legacy tells that we are Africans. We are brought up by this African spirit that will never be eroded at any one moment. So realizing who you are identifies you. When you go to Britain and you say, I'm from Uganda, let them identify it by your dress code. We've been moving in the museum. We saw the African way of dressing. We saw the spears. We saw this is becoming tourism because people no longer see it.
Yeah.
Can we do something as stakeholders to bring this back? Yes.
So coming back to the issue of our culture and identity, one, we must accept that we are living in modern society. and certain things are going to remain the way they are. How can we be able to incorporate the modernity that we've been able to get? For example, I ask myself, what's the essence of, okay, I don't understand so much to do with the judges and law, but the way, for example, we put on the clothes. Someone makes it a point that Monday you have to put on like this, it has to be a suit, the way it is. Tuesday you have to be like this. It's about the way you put on. I sometimes ask myself, what's the essence of that? If the other people, maybe it's because of the weather and stuff, and that's the way they have to put on, and we have to do the same here. How can we be able to appreciate the good things about the, the Western culture mostly, because it's what is influencing us mostly here? How can we be able to appreciate the good that is about their culture, and then we do away with the vices? Because we are so good at copying the vices and we fail to copy the good things that would be adding on us. How can we be able to incorporate that?
Well, thank you so much for that question. You see, when the white man came, I believe we had set of rules that really govern us as Africans. And we were also in our chiefdoms and how we were really organized. That means that whenever there was anything to do with a crime or whatsoever, it was handled in the way of the kingdom, respectively. Now, right now, as we, the incoming lawyers, and I am doing law, I'm a third-year law student at UCU. Now, I at one point asked myself the same question: why do I dress like this? I mean, we have our own dress code. I could actually, most times I actually like dressing in chitenge. At times I feel I am looking weird at times. People will say, but why do you put on this? But I feel, I am really comfortable, and I am really proud to say that yes, I have dressed this way because of this. But because of the course I am doing, it has set certain things and precedent for us. But as Africans also, I believe, because when you look at the law itself, we tend to borrow precedents. We read cases of 1980s. We read cases of 1614. I mean, and that's really still binding in Ugandan courts. But when you look in Uganda, we have really, yes, as you said, we have to borrow the good things from there and bring it here. But I think we have really borrowed enough. It is high time we use the precedents that is already there set for us, and we come up as Africans, and by that we shall really preserve our culture.
It's good that you bring about the issues to do with law. I don't know, when you're studying law, if the curriculum that you do use, yes, they consider that this is Africa, this is Uganda, and therefore put in consideration of all the cultures and the identity as we have. Because most of the laws, it was copy and paste here. I don't know if that has been able to be incorporated and our culture considered.
I mean, when you look at the Constitution, Article 2.2 actually says, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and if there is any law that is inconsistent with the Constitution, that other law becomes null and void. That means that even as Africans in our setting, we have certain laws that really govern us from the onset as we came up as Africans. But you realize that when someone does something in contrary to what is now set up in the Constitution, which is in relation to the Europeans, that law really presses the Africans. So we are really nowhere in the scene. So as Africans, we really need to wake up. The Constitution got the precedents from the other side, and what we have now, it is painted on the image as something that is not really worth.
Mm-hmm. Just a little addition on hers.
Oh yes.
There's this, Julius Malema said, in the spirit of Ubuntu, we would like to promote the African spirit. I believe that to conquer a person, you have to first conquer the spirit and the mind. That's what the whites did. Mm-hmm. They conquered our spirit and mind, but now we know.
That's a very big issue to do with mindset.
Yes.
And I'm very glad in the recent budget, there was a budget allocated to mindset change. I do hope the Parliament is going to be able to pass that. But coming back to the issue of culture, identity, and Pan-Africanism, if we are going to fight for Africa to be independent, that's economically, politically, how is culture and knowing one's identity going to play a role in this?
Now, in the formulation of Ishazirito Foundation in Uganda, we identified major two things. One is the gap that is in between the parents who are supposed to teach us the culture that we belong to and the students. Why is this? Students spend 70% of their life in schools. Even when they are home, tap smartphone. So there is no time totally to have a one-on-one interaction between us and our elders, which was the culture then. So parents first must embark on their role. If other stakeholders like government, like Uganda Museum, like Igongo Culture Center and other culture formulating institutions want to come on board, they should find this student sharpened, liking what he wants to know. My grandmother, my great-grandparents, then you prepare a smart mind that already loves culture.
Why I chose this kind of a background, this is the African class setup,
Yes.
where people used to sit down, be able to learn, get to reflect.
There would be fire in the middle.
Exactly. Get to reflect and know who they are. You don't know, you as a parent, what you're doing out there to be able to equip your child. I don't know the institutions of learning, what you're doing to be able to equip the students that you have with understanding who they are and appreciating their culture.
My name is Hamza Chivumbi. I'm a co-founder of Sean Tours and Travel. I'm very proud to be a Muganda. Actually, my name Chivumbi signifies Engonge clan. So when you hear Chivumbi, that is where you find the Lutayas and other things. Youth and culture is very, very, very important. Actually, you cannot separate a culture, youth, and then tourism. Youth culture, of course, this is just the way the youth relate with each other. And then the idea behind it is that how the youth relate with other people, the institutions, the behaviors, and with reference to the people, like those particular kind of people, the elders. Now, cultural value, of course, when it is not the manifestation of culture itself, because if you have value in culture, it does not mean you are going to put on backcloth, the beads, the traditional beads, and start moving, like moving. No, that is not culture. This is just the transfer of integrity, the behaviors from one generation to another. And then that is where you will see that the elders, particularly in Buganda, are very much respected, though other people in Buganda, they think that when you go to the elders, of course, that is backwardness, which is very, very, very wrong. So regionally, when I come from Buganda and then I go to maybe in the north, I really appreciate the culture that is there. When I go to Karamoja, just like I was discussing with some of the people around here, they were saying that long time ago, Karamoja was a wetland, and now, right now, it is what? It is a desert. And why? We should find out why. But it all comes to culture. People don't want to preserve culture, and then when you move around to different other regions, I really appreciate Rwenzori, Mountain Rwenzori, and other things. So that is why culture is very, very much more important. Thank you.
When we talk about culture, there are those very, very important things. This class, you know, the old tradition kind of a class where our fathers used to sit, it was a disciplining place. That's where, you know, when someone was big-headed, when a girl was starting to misbehave and stuff, they would sit you around here and bring things in the open.
Actually, this is the Ishaz.
So some people call it okutarama. I don't know what you call the fireplace and stuff in your language.
Kamache.
Kamache. So okutarama, where people come, sit, talk about the issues of their concern, and young people would be disciplined here. Get to know that you have to respect people who are older than you and all that, but mostly to understand who you are. And those things, discipline and those respect. And that's why sometimes I have issues with some people who call themselves, you know, activists, human rights activists and stuff. you have to so much make sure that all that is incorporated into what culture is, because sometimes most of these people we're seeing who are calling themselves human rights activists and stuff, they are just copying the Western culture and stuff and just imposing it on us. Let's respect what human rights are, yes, but also respect what us as Africans do stand for. That has to be respected. So moving forward, what is the solution? We have been able to wake up. Tuzo okuseka tuino kunaba maso.
Yes.
Tusobole okutegeera wajje tulaga. What should be done, most especially for us as the young people, to be able to appreciate the culture, who we are, and the identity. For the ladies, it's even worse. Seeing young people hating their color, bleaching, you know, it's really sad. I talked about, you know, someone looking at a person who doesn't speak fluent English and they think they don't have any, you know, intellect or stuff. How can we be able to change that kind of a mindset and appreciate the culture and the identity of us as Africans?
Well, you see, like I said before, it is about we as Africans, and as more especially the young generation. We are the ones that really can bring in and help preserve this culture. First of all, what is your view of Africa as a whole? How do you look at an African country and in the next maybe 5 years, 10 years, and will you still want to stay in that country? That comes in when we look at our background. If we really want to evolve, if we want to bring in that aspect of culture, we have to look at Africans, where we are from. Where did we come from? Where are we going? Is where we are going related to where we came from? If it has that connection, then we are really focused as Africans and we can really stay as Africans. Well, some of the aspects that can be looked into is, number one, the language itself. Language has to be taught from home. You see, when you look at the African home these days, they literally speak English. At times I'm even ashamed of myself that I speak better English than my language. And you really, when you try asking an older person, this person does not know the meaning of something that you want to know in your language. What is that? So it has to be taught right away from home, from school. Then there has to be African literature that are really written in our language. So
and stories that are written by us.
Yeah, sure.
Because of most of the African stories that we are reading are not written by us, and no one will write your story better than you who owns the story.
Yeah, sure. So when we look at the story itself, we see that we are losing the history, life history. I mean, these people who have lived and have not written anything, they are dying. And so when we don't wake up as young generation to put into writing our literature, the little that we know about our culture, so that even if we cannot preserve it all, we can preserve a little bit of it. Secondly, as young generation, we should be proud of our dress code, how we dress as Africans. Look at how we dress these days. I mean, I don't know what I've even put on, but I have to put on because it is the trend I have found myself putting on. And when I put on in an African way, I am being laughed at. But what is that? That is not, we are trying to divert. So when we become proud of who we are and look into our dress code, then we shall also promote our industry. Because, I mean, if we love the dress code and the tailors who make it, then the industry, you know, it's going to develop. And as Africans, we are going to be somewhere in the next few years. Then also, when we look at certain things that we attach to ourselves, like names I talked about, I mean, why can't we name ourselves into something that we really understand? Why don't we stop this issue of borrowing names from the other side?
You know, it's very funny when you talk about that issue of names. You will just find people in the villages asking friends, what is the best English name that I can name my child?
You see?
Just like that.
I mean, huh? So names are really, really important. Okay, if the white man really wants us, I believe so much in Christianity. I am a Christian, but I am an African Christian. Because if I must use English name, then the white should also use Piloya. Let them also use Piloya. Meanwhile, I use Barbara. Then I will feel there is that unity. But by the time I am using Barbara and the white is using only Gabriel, there is no unity and there is an hidden intention that we really want to stop, and we must wake up as young Africans.
We've woken up, and I think we should actually even stop blaming the white man and do what we're supposed to do as Africans to achieve what we want. Otherwise, we shall keep lamenting. Coming back to you, Seth, as we conclude, what should be done to make sure that we bring back the African culture and get to appreciate it?
Thank you so much. Cultural activists or people who embrace culture should always come up. Stakeholders and, for example, from people from Arua, we are all one. We are all Africans, joined by the spirit of Ubuntu, like I said. We can come together, have one interaction that respects the cultural norms and values. Like we do on Isha's Youth Forums, we've always called up old people that tell us about our norms and values, what we call Enganda Zeitu. Back then, I don't know what you, Kwedira, I don't know how they mention it in your language.
What's that?
For example, a taboo and...
In Luganda, they say Tambulango Muganda.
So introduce yourself in an African way. So, two, the youth and Pan-Africa should really realize who you are first. Believe in yourself that you are an African, embrace what you have, you will continue tomorrow. Then, the spirit of Ubuntu and humanity should forever prevail amongst ourselves. Then, parents should really go back and realize their activity because back then, a child will not only belong to the family, but the community. A child would belong to the community, and the entire community would advise this child. And this brings the upbringing.
But it's very sad today. Fathers,
whenever you
raping
find
their children.
a child doing, but even in school.
No, that goes back to the issue of discipline, character. Because really, how can that happen? A father, raping their own daughter,
now
a brother onto their own sister,
now that's our role
incest and stuff. That was a taboo in African tradition.
That's our role as advocates for culture. We come in and preach about this. Then the laws should be stricted by the government.
Now you see what I was talking about, that when they are making laws and stuff, we have to put our culture and identity in consideration.
Sure.
African languages should be stimulated in schools. The culture of languages should be embraced. Yes, we may study English, but have subjects or have time for the Luganda language, Ankole language, Acholi language, so that people should always embrace their culture.
how it looks like at school when someone is doing a local language. That someone is doing Luganda,
I know.
someone is doing Lunyankole. It's as if you're just wasting time. But then someone who is doing literature in English, they are looking, they look at you to be a star.
So we need to come together, joined by that spirit of Ubuntu, and prevail our culture, stimulate it more for the betterment of our country.
Thank you so much, Yesiga. Thank you so much, Piloya. We're so glad. My name is Tumukunde. Today I will not be calling myself Ivan. I'm Tumukunde. And I do believe a young person out there, you're going to be proud of your name, who you are, where you come from. It's very sad that some people don't even want to talk about where they come from. They want to say, I'm city born. Man, you need to be proud of where you're coming from, the people that come from your community. Be proud to say I'm Acholi, be proud to say I'm Muganda, be proud to say I'm Musoga, I'm proud to be a Munyankole. Feel that kind of richness of being you, and that is going to be helping you to become better and better. When you add in the English and the schooling that you're going to be able to get, you become a better person by understanding your identity, your culture. I thank you so much for watching Youth of Purpose, a show that is here to help you understand yourself, appreciate yourself, and be able to contribute to this country's development. I thank you so much for watching this show. Follow me on my socials, on Twitter, I_Tumukunde, on Facebook, I_Tumukunde, and on Instagram @Tumukunde. Thank you so much. See you next time.